Hello race fans, my name is Taylor and welcome back to Above the Yellow Line, the show where we talk all about the NASCAR Cup Series. And today we are jumping right in and I am happy to announce that we have a special guest on the channel. I'm happy to welcome Daniel Baldwin of DannyBTalks to the show to talk a little bit about his NASCAR journey. So Daniel, welcome so much to the show and thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely. Glad to be here, Taylor.
And I wanted to start by asking you some basic questions about your NASCAR journey. So how did you start getting into the sport? What really drew you in?
I guess it's just something as a kid, Dad had it on TV one day. He wasn't really as much of a fan as I am, but I mean, it's on TV, but you kind of start watching it. And then, a lot of kids our age range, we like to play video games. So that was kind of what got me started getting more familiar with the sport by playing the NASCAR video games. NASCAR 2005 was what I played the most as a kid. But then you just start getting more familiar with the sport. You watch it on TV, and then eventually, next thing you know, 2009, I'm going to my first race at Bristol Motor Speedway. So that was the Nationwide Series race in the spring that Kevin Harvick won.
So was Kevin Harvick your favorite driver to start, or did you have another one?
Nah, I guess my favorite driver to start was Jeff Gordon. There was something about, first of all, weird as a kid, I rode bus 24, so I rooted for the number 24 car when I first started watching it, and ultimately he was pretty good. He was winning races, so it kind of made it better. So.
And then I think I know the answer to this question, but your favorite driver now, I'm guessing it's another Hendrick guy, right?
Yes, it is another Hendrick guy. I went from Jeff Gordon, and then 2008 come along. I'm a little bit more familiar with things, and I decided that I didn't think that Gordon was necessarily my favorite anymore. So I started rooting for Dale Earnhardt Jr. when he came over to the 88. Something about the Amp Energy and National Guard colors. I really liked the way the car looked, and decided, hey, I'll start rooting for Jr. And I rooted for him all the way up until it was time for him to retire. And when it was time for him to retire, I kept my fan favoritism in the 88 car with Alex Bowman, and now, of course, rooting on the 48. And if for any reason he ever left Hendrick Motorsports, if he even went to go drive the 34 car, well, I'd be buying a lot of Love's merchandise, I guess.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But let's talk about YouTube for a second here, or for a little bit, I guess. So you have your YouTube channel, DannyBTalks. What compelled you to start that?
Really more that I was not happy with what I was doing as a job. So I went to school, University of Tennessee, Knoxville, and I got a degree in hospitality and tourism management. My goal at that time was that I wanted to work in probably like social media, something like that, for like a racetrack, maybe Bristol Motor Speedway, maybe work for NASCAR themselves. And even in school, I was doing a lot of like video style work for my program, and my teachers, my professors realized that I did have a pretty good talent for video making at that time. It still had a lot more room to develop, and it always still does. But anyways, it didn't work out. I tried making as many connections as I could. It didn't work out to get any kind of internship or job opportunity or anything like that with a racetrack or anything. I tried like crazy to get Bristol Motor Speedway, but it never worked out. And so I graduate college and I need to find something to do for work. And I go back home to little Harrogate, Tennessee, where I grew up at. And there in Harrogate, it's a tri-state area where it meets Tennessee, Virginia, and Kentucky. So I went through the Cumberland Gap Mountain Tunnel into Middlesboro, Kentucky, and I started off fresh out of college with a internship with the local hotel management company there. Ended up becoming manager of a motel in Middlesboro, Kentucky for a while, but I quickly realized like this isn't what I want to do for the rest of my life. I said, what I want to do for the rest of my life is something involving social media, preferably YouTube. And so basically at that point, I had been pretty much serious for a while that I thought YouTube could be a possibility. So I basically, for the last year and a half up to that point, I've been paying attention to other, like the best YouTubers out there, whether it be someone like PewDiePie. Mr. Beast wasn't as big at that point. but just, people who were successful. I was paying attention to them and what made them successful. And I tried to get an idea of what kind of content I would like to make. And ultimately, by December 2017, I was ready to launch a channel. I had established, okay, you got to have a name for this channel because I don't think Daniel Baldwin is going to be what they're going to want to lock in on. DannyBTalks was the best idea I had, and it's what I've been with ever since. And ultimately, my first video that I put out there that was like crafted and edited was a video titled 10 Reasons Why Millennials Will Watch NASCAR More in 2018. And for a channel that had, essentially 0 subscribers, that video went fairly well. It got about 4,000 or 5,000 views. And I said, okay, maybe I can keep this up. And so I kept making more videos. And then one day out of the blue, this guy named the Iceberg emails me and says, hey, you got a pretty cool channel going on. I got a pretty cool channel going on. Why don't we talk sometime? And, me and him were both like, under 1,000 subscribers at that point. He's long gone and left me now, but we started this little podcast after Daytona Duels one night, and that led into us having a few more episodes. And at first we were broadcasting to 2 people, then 4 people, and then next thing you know, we had an audience of like 20 something. So I was like, okay, we're lacking something here. We need to find someone who might be able to add into this. Somehow, some way, during a Fortnite stream, we got the attention of Eric Estep. And
during a Fortnite stream.
During a Fortnite stream.
Wow.
Basically telling him to talk to us on Twitter. And we managed to get Eric to come on to an episode with us as a guest. And then at the end of it, asked him, are you doing anything like this right now, essentially? And then basically I asked him, would you be interested in being a host with us? And to our surprise, he said yes. And then further down the line, we added Darian Gilliam, Black Flags Matter. And it was at that point, I think we established, okay, I think 4 is our magic number of hosts. And we kind of rotate that show around everyone's channels. Today is NASCAR Rookie Podcast, and we're getting ready to go into season 5. I can't believe that. Season 5 of the NASCAR Rookie Podcast went from me and Jarrett talking to 2 people, which probably literally would have been one person, because I think I probably had the stream open just to see the chat. So it went from that to, now we probably average 400 live viewers, more than that. It's a great thing. And as far as my own channel goes, I have varieties of content I've tried over the years. Now I think I've kind of more established the content that works best for my channel, and I'm very happy with what I'm doing. And it ultimately led to me back in 2017. I said in 3 years my job will not be managing a motel, and then my job will be something with YouTube. In 2018, I left East Tennessee to come live in Middle Tennessee, closer to what was then my fiance, now wife, and I took a job selling cars. I was selling Toyotas for a car dealership in Nashville, Tennessee. I did that for a good year and 3 months, and then finally left that at the spring of 2020. I had just grown tired of the car sale business and kind of who it had made me as a person. And I kind of said I wanted to focus more on my YouTube channel. Started off doing that pretty well in the spring of 2020, but then COVID hit, and I got laid off at the sign shop that I was working at the time. And ultimately, to get through 2020, I took on basically the job of delivering groceries for Instacart and also delivering food for DoorDash, which was an interesting experience, and basically doing YouTube on the side. I was running my own, YouTube channel, still DannyBTalks, trying to do what NASCAR content I could. I had also been in touch with people actually at NASCAR's digital team running their YouTube channel. And for like probably 9 or 10 episodes straight, I was on as a guest role on their show Backseat Drivers, which was a fun experience, but it was never a job. I never got paid for my time there. It was more them giving me exposure, if you will. It didn't really help me any way, I would say, because no offense to them, that show is getting similar views than some of my stuff, if not sometimes less. Nothing wrong with that. It just didn't work out. I was hopeful it might have become a job at some point, but it just wasn't meant to be on that part of it. But what did become a job is where I'm at today. And I am working as a full-time YouTube channel manager with a great company, the Trinity Broadcasting Network, which is one of the largest global Christian television networks in the world. And I have a great role with them, editing videos and maintaining a YouTube channel for them. And so, yeah, long story short, I wanted to work in NASCAR, which transitioned to I want to work in social media, but also become this kind of NASCAR social media guy doing my own thing, if that makes sense. It's kind of put me into a good place because I have a great full-time job doing what I love, but at the same time, it doesn't impact me as a NASCAR fan. And really, it's a Monday through Friday job. It gives me more time on the weekends to enjoy NASCAR. If I want to go to a race, I can. There's nothing really holding me back there. And for that part of it, it's like a dream job, really. And I can't complain about it at all.
I mean, and your content, I see you pour so much work into your content. For example, I know the Chip Ganassi Racing, the Rise and Fall series that you did.
That one took a lot of time. And see, there's some videos that take a lot of time like that. There's some videos that don't take a lot of time like that. Like, for example, my DannyB Needs a Minute. It's NASCAR news. I had been gone from that forever. Like since COVID hit, it was just one of those things that like there were so many more depressing stories I didn't want to talk about last year, and ultimately I kind of got away from it. And now that I'm taking back control of my YouTube channel, because that was another thing throughout most of 2021, I was not doing as much for my own channel because I was getting used to my role of TBN and maintaining their content. Now I'm at a point where I can manage them, but also manage myself. And so I got back into doing DannyB Needs a Minute. My first one just this past Friday, there's NASCAR news to talk about, but there's with this kind of stuff, you got to have something that really draws someone in. And, I noticed that it's old news now at this point, but it just kind of come out into the mainstream news cycle was the story regarding Brian Vickers' wife's role and bad stuff. We'll just say that. But that right there was part of what I was discussing, and it was the biggest news story. That video has gotten 75,000 views. If you told me when I was recording that just on the whim that this is going to get 75,000 views, I wouldn't have believed it because DannyB Needs a Minute before, I think at most got like tops like 11,000 views. So I broke an all-time record of my NASCAR news right there. And, at this point, I just want to keep making good content. I had a video go out today that has disappointed me. I mean, I just had a video of 75,000 views and I put up this cool video that I
loved it.
did.
I love this video.
the one about who would play Richard Petty.
Richard Petty. Yep.
Yes. I think I put out pretty good effort in that. Not even 1,000 views, 991 views, and it's been out all day. That is not common for my channel, I will say.
I want to ask, I know there are a lot of up and downs in being a content creator. You mentioned a lot of the ups and there's downs. What has been the toughest down about being a content creator on NASCAR?
I guess it's got to be the more you put into it, the bigger your audience gets, the more the trolls are going to come around. And I just want to be me, I just want to put out stuff that I enjoy. And, I'm benefiting from it myself as a content creator because obviously, you're going to get paid for your stuff on YouTube. But then there's some guy who's like, well, you got this wrong and you should have said this. And then you idiot. And it's like, man, I don't see you out here making YouTube videos.
Right. I mean, it sometimes feels like, and I mean, obviously my channel is definitely not as big, but it's almost like it is so much work. And then you put the work out there and then maybe it doesn't get the reception you want, or maybe it gets those comments. And then it's like, oh, I worked so hard on that. I was proud of that. And then it just kind of deflates you a little bit. So
yeah.
It sucks, but there is content out there that I know you've maybe been very proud of. Is there a favorite video that you have, or is there a segment that you like the most?
One of my favorite videos that I've done, and it almost sounds bad because it seems like it's not really an attacking video as much as it's more stating facts, but I did a video on Tia Norfleet. And if you're not familiar with Tia Norfleet, you really should get more familiar with her and essentially her posing as a NASCAR driver when she wasn't. But the video I did on her is probably one of my favorite videos that I've done. That one, and then a joking video I did where I did the rise and fall of Dennett Racing for April Fool's one year.
Oh yeah, yeah. I did see that. That was a good one. I like that one too.
Yeah. As far as one that was more serious though, it's hard to beat the Tia Norfleet one. The Chip Ganassi Racing one was good too. I'm really proud of the way that one turned out too.
And you talk a lot about the historical side of NASCAR as well in your videos. I wanted to ask you how much work goes into researching those, and is there a particular era of NASCAR that draws you in the most?
There's a lot of good stuff that seems to come out of teams that were involved in the late 90s and into the 2000s, because mainly there's more with the increased use of the internet. There's more stories that are out there, if that makes sense. There's more information available. You try not to basically, the biggest gripe people give about a NASCAR YouTuber is you try not to read verbatim Wikipedia. You try not to basically just state off racing reference, but those are some of the best tools for making videos like that. And I'm sorry to tell you this, they help. And I try to write things more into my own words, but they do help. I'm not going to be one to just read straight off of Wikipedia word for word, but if I read a sentence and I, tweaked it to my own liking, that's the way the video is going to come out.
And I did also want to derail this a little bit. I know you mentioned earlier your wife, Claudia. She's into NASCAR as well, and she's been a big part of your YouTube channel as well with your vlogs. I was curious if you'd be willing to share how you both met and what role she's played in your NASCAR journey.
So we met in college at University of Tennessee in an English class, and she didn't really want anything to do with NASCAR at first. And I had been in a spell in college where I just wasn't able to watch it as much. But I decided I want to get back into watching it a little bit because I kind of wanted to work in it if it was possible. So I want to start watching it again when that kind of reignited my fanhood. And I said, hey, I want to go to a race because it was 2016. I hadn't been to a race since 2013. And I wanted her to go with me. And she's kind of like, well, I don't know. It seems kind of stupid. There's cars going around in circles. And essentially, I knew what would happen if I asked her if she wanted to go to a race. So I just went and bought tickets. I bought tickets to the spring Xfinity Series race at Bristol Motor Speedway, which turned out to be a lot more complicated than I thought it would be because it was when they was trying that heat racing deal or whatever they were doing back then. Mm-hmm. So that was interesting. I was trying to have to explain that to her. And but yeah, she still says today she doesn't really remember much about her first race. She just knows there was a green car, which was Kyle Larson, and that Eric Jones won. That's all she really knows. So I got her to go to a race, even though she was kind of mad at first. She was like, you didn't even ask me about buying tickets. And I was kind of like, well, I knew what you would say, so we're going. sorry about it. I think she ended up enjoying it. She ended up enjoying enough that, over the summertime, she started watching NASCAR a little bit with me. And then, she kind of asked if we could go to the Cup race in the fall. And so we went to a Cup race at Bristol Motor Speedway. Had to make it a 2-day deal because it's kind of like rained out on Saturday night and had to finish up on Sunday. And, but Kevin Harvick ended up winning that one. And the rest is kind of history. She just started watching it and she started paying attention to drivers. She ended up becoming a Chase Elliott fan, and now she likes getting as much merchandise as I do. Like we both collect diecasts. She has Chase Elliott shirts. I have Alex Bowman shirts. She's as much of a NASCAR fan now as I am, and I'm kind of happy that I created a little monster, if that makes sense.
It does. It's always really nice to have somebody that you're really close to care about the sport as well. It makes watching it more fun, and being able to talk about it too. I'm sure that's a lot more fun. I wanted to ask one more question, talking about the future of the sport. There's a lot of new going into next season, which is exciting and scary. What is the most exciting aspect of the sport that's going into next year? What are you most excited about? And maybe first, so we don't do the negative last, what is the scariest thing about the direction of the sport?
I guess the answer to that both is the new car, the next gen car. There's still so much we don't know about it, and as much as we're looking forward to seeing the racing. There's been testing going on. We want to say, okay, how's this actually going to play out in a real race? Is it going to put on a good show? Are the drivers going to enjoy it? Are we going to see people who weren't competitive be competitive in this car? What are we going to be seeing? But at the same time, the thing we haven't seen yet, and you're going to be kind of holding your breath, waiting for the first person to do this. 2007 Car of Tomorrow comes out, and there's a few crashes here and there, but then 2008 Michael McDowell finally puts it to the test and flips, in qualifying at Texas Motor Speedway. Who's going to give us that Michael McDowell moment where we prove how tough this car is? It's like, I know Ryan Newman was voicing some concerns he had with it.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a couple other drivers voice their concerns, and it's like, you don't want anyone to ever get hurt, but at the same time, you're like, well, we got to know. And it's going to happen one day. We don't know when. It might happen right off the bat at Daytona. We might see, someone go through the air, and, hopefully they get right back out as they have in the other cars. But, we just don't know what we're going to see with this car.
Yeah, and that's been a big concern of mine as testing happens. And this video will come out on Friday, so you're watching it today. It's Friday, but as of when we're recording this today, we are doing testing right now, and there are some pretty scary wrecks. With, I think Tyler Reddick ended up wrecking into like the sand trash cans, whatever, and going into pit road. Yes. Or I think he just spun out. So that is definitely concerning. But I'm going to ask you one more question. Do you have a preemptive pick for the championship for 2022?
Let's go Bowman. As cool as that would be, because it would be cool to kind of see it go like Elliott, Larson, Bowman, Byron, something like that. It's going to be hard to beat Larson again. If I have to give an early pick, I would say I think Larson stands a good chance going 2 for 2 years in a row. So
we'll have to see. I think that's going to be my bet for next year too. I think it's a safe bet, and I think it's also a good one. But, well, Daniel, thank you so much for being on the show. I greatly appreciate your time, and it was so cool to hear about your NASCAR journey.
I appreciate you giving me time to chat with everyone.
Of course, and outside of this platform here, where else can the viewers find you social media-wise?
I am on Twitter at DannyBTalks. I'm on Instagram at DannyBTalks. You can find me on Facebook. There's a page called DannyBTalks. It's kind of like spaced out, DannyBTalks. And then I do have a TikTok, DannyBTalks Official. I don't do as much on Instagram and TikTok, but Facebook is here and there. But the Twitter, though, is very active, and definitely follow me on Twitter.
All right, everyone, make sure to check those out in the linked in the description below. But before you do those, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this with your friends and family. Thanks again so much, Daniel, for being on the show. And until next time, we'll see ya.
Looking for more ATYL content? Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram, all linked below for Q&As, breaking news, and more. We'll see you there.